Welcome to Forever Unbreakable, everybody. This is a super, super cool, unique milestone for Forever Unbreakable. This is our episode 26. So that means we are 6 months into podcasting, which is probably further than I thought I was going to maybe podcast at the beginning, but who knows? But it's been more inspiring for me hearing people's stories in greater detail than I ever thought imaginable. And that's why the podcast is definitely not going anywhere. It's going to continue to grow and continue to be around, even with the things that are coming in the future. But I just want to thank you all for tuning in and supporting this over the last 6 months. It's been a fun journey, just like many things, like what we're going to talk about today, which was about 4 to 5 months in the making. And that's kind of the big story that we're going to get into here with this podcast. Is the end of the podcast we're going to talk, or probably the majority of it, I would assume, but maybe not. We're going to talk about this bad boy right here, Fox City's 26.2 mile marathon. And, I guess we could call it the struggle fest that ensued towards the end of it. And I was sent a quote yesterday that I think is probably the best quote for us, or one of the very best. And the quote is, "It's hard to measure almost, because almost doesn't matter." And that was the exact result of finishing the marathon, is that almost didn't matter. You got all the way to the end, even though it came scary close. And we're going to show you guys a video of it, if we can get that video and stuff like that. But I think it's important to go all the way back to what got to the point, because tonight's guest is the Mr. Justin Goffard.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm here. Still alive.
Yeah, somehow. Spent how many hours in the hospital bed after the marathon?
I think it was like 3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah.
It was quite the experience. Had no recollection, not even I thought it was 2016 for a point in time there, so it was wild.
So that'll tell you guys what kind of happened at the end of the marathon, when, for the way that we say it in marathon terms, or in distance athletics, is the wheels fall off, or bonking. And so Justin got to experience that firsthand, and it was awesome to be there and be a part of it. So we'll get into that point here as we progress in the podcast, but just want to get you guys a little excited that Justin had a struggle fest. The EMTs had tried to take him off the course, but we weren't going to allow that to happen. So
yeah, I don't remember any of that. So
yeah, that's all right. I wasn't
Will's gonna have to fill us in a little bit here on about that last half mile. What the hell happened?
I was making sure that you finished, and mind you, right now we're about 30 hours post race. So we finished yesterday. Race starts at 7. It was a 4-hour marathon, so we finished at 11 o'clock, or right around 11 o'clock in the morning. So this is very fresh content. It's going to come out next Monday. So you guys will all get to hear it here in about 5 or 6. What is it? Actually, 7 days, 6 days. So a week from today. So that's exciting. But I want to rewind back from long before even the start of the marathon or the start of training. I want to go back to what brought you to do something that very few people do. You signed a contract to join the military. So what brought that on? Do you come from a military family, or at what point were you like, "Yep, I'm going to join the Army. This is what I want to do in my life, and this is what I'm going to do for the next few years"?
Man, well, I was pretty much on the road to nowhere. getting out of high school and doing some construction work, landscaping, sprinkler installation. Actually, back in these old MySpace days, I don't know if you guys remember that at all.
Oh yeah, the MySpace.
A recruiter had contacted me via message and talked about the benefits of joining the Army and what it all entails to do some selfless service, and they're in need at a time of the volunteer force kind of soon after 9/11 there. It was back in 2006, so not soon after 9/11, but soon enough where we're still needing forces to get over in OIF, Operation Iraqi Freedom. And, I had looked into it hard. I met with him a couple times, and then there was one moment he came out to a job site in his class A's, and he had his decorations on, his medals were hanging, and he came out, picked me up from my job site to go back and sign some paperwork. I walked off at the job at that point in time, and I said, I'm enlisted in active duty full time, and went and signed up for the military, and off I went to MEPS, and then I think about a week later I was headed off to basic training in Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
So how old were you when you enlisted?
I was 21.
So you had been out of high school for a while,
Yep.
and just trying to figure life out, but wasn't going anywhere that you were happy with.
Right. Yep.
So how excited were you to get on a track that you thought might fix that, back when you were 21? And what year was this exactly?
It was 2006, so it was.
Oh, so the heat of the war.
Yeah, it was definitely. A lot of people were nervous for me. I had a couple friends telling me not to do it. They said you're not going to come back, yada yada yada. But I had to ignore that and take the better track. I felt like the track I was on was really not the best thing. With the high school equivalency and things like that, I wasn't primed for going to college.
Yeah.
And I felt like I needed to learn a lot about myself. And the way that the recruiter had taught to me, and the things that I read about the military, the warrior ethos, the values they instill, those are the type of things that I needed, and they really helped me out. And I mean, it speaks for itself. I'm here today,
Yeah, absolutely.
Fighting for things still, believing in absolute values still. All of our core values still stick with me. A lot of selflessness still remains, and still want to serve.
Absolute selflessness. So I'm going to fast forward back to the marathon. We're going to keep jumping back to the marathon and how I saw some of these things come out during the marathon. So Brooke, and congrats to Brooke. She crushed her goal, got that sub 4. She ran like a 3:57, but she ran with us the whole time, or we ran with her, however you want to look at it.
And I appreciate Brooke. Man, you helped me out too, more than you know. So if you're watching this, I appreciate you, Brooke.
And more times, there was more times where Justin Rolane, when we would get off in front of you guys a little bit, there's more times where Justin would be like, man, Justin is so this is Justin Rolane talking, and he's like, Justin Goffard is just such a good dude. Like, he's just super nice. Like, listen to him back there, because we know that you guys are struggling. It's Brooke's second marathon, your first marathon.
Yeah.
And Justin and I had been down the road long enough to know that, like, yep, it hurts, but we've been here before. But knowing the limited experience that you guys have, especially yourself being your first marathon and your first time past mile 15 even.
Yeah, that was that breaking point. We'll probably talk about that
We'll
later.
definitely talk about training a little bit and all that. But the one thing that Justin Rolane kept saying was, Justin's just so motivated and inspiring, and like, he's just staying happy somehow, and that's a testament to those values of that selfless service. You were constantly concerned about how Brooke was doing, or how I was doing, or how Justin Rolane was doing, and not so much about, I'm in pain, feel sorry for me type mentality. Like, it was remarkable, and you could tell that that's something that you either learned in basic training or learned as a child, but at some point in your life you had learned that, took it to heart, and you implement it in every day in every aspect of your life. And I'm just giving one small example I watched happen yesterday.
Yeah, I'm a believer in that, things that you learn, whether they be from other people, or personal experience, you pile all those things together, and you're the result of that product. And you're the, whatever you display in your own character is your interpretation of all that from your childhood, your military service, your work life, your college education, whatever it may be. All your experiences, you portray all that. It depends on those experiences, they build you, So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's talk about the basic training AIT experience, right? Because it's an experience. Like, I'll never forget going through it myself, and the fear and anxiety that you feel when you show up at reception, to getting to the training unit that you're going to be in, and then the different process that they put you through to break you down and build you back up. Like, talk about that experience and what it did for you, in life, and how it built you and developed you.
Yeah, we're stretching the bounds of the memory a little bit here. This is over now, 12 years ago now, which is crazy to think. Mm-hmm. But I do absolutely recall basic training. And I mean, I went to a very diverse school as field artillery base, and a lot of different MOSs went to that school. So a lot of field artillery MOSs are there. and I was in a transportation MOS, so heavy equipment operator was my MOS. And I don't know, I just always wanted to be the best in the military when I got there. I was a fit guy. I just always wanted to compete, and I had some role models that, you know, were always PT studs, breaking out 300s, and we had some really badass drill sergeants too. A Samoan guy. I mean, he's a guy that looks like a pit bull in a uniform with a drill sergeant hat on. You know,
Yeah.
if there was a cartoon drawing, he'd have a spike collar around his neck, because that's how badass he was. But you know, and getting through that, having those guys down your throat, you know, every moment of the day, you know, from wake up to go to sleep, it's definitely an experience that you don't forget. And some of the things that you go through with your comrades in those situations, you know, whether it be just, you know, your 10K ruck march down to the gas chamber, or you know, I mean, and
the gas chamber, man, just being. I remember the first time that we had to get in the gas chamber, I was like, this is how they kill people. Like, that people die from this or whatever, right? Absolute fear of getting in there, and then you're in there and it's like, this isn't that terrible,
right?
But there's so much fear going into it. It's much like towing the line to start the marathon, you know, to bounce back to the marathon again.
So let me tell you about stubbornness. Remember, we had stubbornness is going to come up again too, because
yeah, absolutely,
bullheadedness and everything. It's going to come up with the marathon talk. But I was so stubborn going into basic training. They wanted to. I had bad eye vision as a kid. I got LASIK thanks to the military, so cool. But I went to the basic training. They did not know I had glasses. I wore contacts there. I told them I didn't have a prescription, so I brought like 2 extra pairs of contacts with me because I knew that there was a gas chamber. So I stuffed them away in something because they're small. They couldn't tell that I had them. And the day we ruck out to the gas chamber, I bring that extra pair with me. Or no, I didn't. It was stuck back in my locker. But so we get out there, and I know if I go in there with my contacts, they're going to melt to my eyes. So I'm like, okay. So we ruck out there. Comes my turn. I pull out my contacts from my eyes. I go in there. I'm practically blind. I got like -5 in each eye. That's terrible. And I'm practically blind going into the gas chamber. And I'm like, all right, what do I get? And, you know, they crack the pills on the thing, and then all of a sudden I'm just blowing snot, man, flapping my arms.
Doing the 5 push-ups.
Yeah, and then I rucked the rest of the, I think it was 10K home.
Yeah,
you know, blind practically. Yeah. I'm like following my buddy in front of me, and it's on the verge of darkness too. So we're pretty much at dusk rocking home, and I'm just like,
can't see anything, just hanging on to his rucksack.
I'm just stubborn, man. Just stubborn.
Dude, but that stubbornness, you know, when used in the right process, is very beneficial, and it caused you to finish the marathon. It was a difference between finishing and not finishing, and it was a difference in you know, staying to the pace, staying to the plan, being that stubborn. Like, it paid dividends on Sunday. So as long as used properly, anybody who's stubborn, you know, as long as you use it positively, it's a very good thing to have.
Right on. And that's something that the military taught me how to control, to be honest. So, you know, another thing, I mean, if you're looking for a place to go in life, I swear the military will teach you great values. And I highly recommend it for anybody that, you know, is looking for something. I'm not a recruiter by any means, but firsthand experience, man. Time of war is a little bit different, but it's just all relative.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been shaped into the person that I am primarily because of the military, and I'm so thankful for it. It has, you know, paid me more than I have ever paid to it, and you know, for that I'm ever in debt to, you know, the military and the things that I've gotten to do in the military, and I know it's that way for many people. And yes, going to war, you know, can be an unfortunate or shitty thing to have to do, but at the same time, the bonds that are made there and the things that you learn and are able to bring home and carry with you in life is you know, not replaceable ever. And I think you'd fully agree with that. The things that you learn from over there.
Absolutely.
Those
absolutely.
Bonds.
I mean, so I was in a 101st Airborne Division, 501st Transportation Company. We went over there replacing a National Guard unit, and so long story short, we got extended to a 15 or 16-month tour. I can't remember quite exactly. But so through that cycle, I was not in the transportation company. I was a detachment. So I was a detachment to 3 or 4 infantry units. So I had 1st ID and then 3 National Guard units cycle while I was there. So I got to meet and see so many different people. And 1st ID was actually the one I can swear that I just learned so much from. They were the roots of that logistic patrol unit that we were in, and we were running convoy security and logistics patrols, and they were the roots of all the tactics and everything that went into that operation throughout. And we were instilled as detachments to carry that on to the next units that come in to replace them, and the 2 National Guard units after that. So we had quite a bit of responsibility as the detachment to make sure. I mean, everybody comes in and they have their own thing, you know, but we still kind of laid out, here's the sand area where we do our, you know, mission briefs and things like that.
Yeah.
And we got our, you know, our post mission. What's our, having a hard time recollecting.
Like the AARs and all that stuff.
Yeah, after action reviews and, you know, 3 positives, 3 negatives, things like that. And, you know, that's really where it all started with me, was with the 1st ID. And, man, I got some great, still friends from that era that, you know, are around. And a lot of them Facebook friends, but hey, you know, we got to keep in touch somehow. We're from different parts of the country here, so.
I'm like one of the things that I'm most thankful for, or super thankful for, is Facebook, and not for, you know, the fact of like marketing Forever Unbreakable, you know, to people to be inspired, or the WHOA stuff and trying to help veterans or whatever it is in that regard. But one of the things I'm most thankful for with Facebook is the fact that like my military friends that I served with and have, you know, done different things from Ranger School to deployments and other Army schools and stuff, I'm able to stay in touch with them, see how they're doing, you know, and like many of them now are married with kids and like super happy and doing these great things in life. You know, some of them have started businesses and gone on to do these things, and it's just great to see. But the other part that you can also see is when one of them is struggling, and you can reach out immediately and help them. And I think that, you know, because it's so like, yeah, they might be Facebook friends now, and that might be the only means that we really talk, but it's still great to be able to see that and have that out there. And through your deployment, you got to see your share of combat. You got to, you know, you lived in a combat zone, and I know that you and I had sat down and talked not all that long ago about some of the struggles that come back up. You know, and as a veteran, and not even as a veteran, I think anybody who goes through anything traumatic, or has a close friend that suffers some sort of injury, illness, or loss, that stuff comes back at times, and it's all about finding, you know, positives or finding ways to change your life and make your life better. So, like, talk a little bit about, you know, when those things happen, what. Like some of the stuff, and this is kind of how you got into running, is like, how do you go about finding a way to get past those things and bring back the positivity in your life? Because you are one of the most positive people that I've ever met in my life. Like, you're just always happy.
Try to be, man. It's overwhelming. Actually, when the scenario you talked about, or the event that you talked about, was actually in the last 5 years, I can recall, one of the most depressed states I've ever been in. You know, I just didn't know a way back up. I was kind of like getting down on myself for things. And then some of the stuff back in Iraq was coming up. We talked about, you know, how I was supposed to go out on a lead gun truck route. And there was some intel that came in that there was possible ID, pressure plate ID on the route. I don't know how they had it down to the exact point, but they were damn right, because the guy that took my place got blown up. And,
yeah.
I mean, it was a matter of, you know, one decision, you know, the convoy commander's decision. We're not going to send a guy out on his first, you know, RATVIC mission. RATVIC is when you're in the lead vehicle, you know, when we know that there's probably something out there. So, you know, that was like life or death right there. And it's a scary wake-up call. And to have things like that, you know, re-enter into your mind stream, 6, 7, 8 years down the road, you're wondering why is it happening, and
it's not good.
Yeah, and it took me down this path where I was thinking about at work. I was thinking about what did I do? What could I have done differently? Things like that. Kind of putting the blame on myself. And that just turns depression into other things. You're thinking about, depression kind of conquers your brain when you get it.
Dude, hugely conquers your brain.
And I'm just thankful that, dude, I reached out to you and was able to talk to you. It brought me up into a different perspective. You told me, hey, we got things there for you if you need it, but I think I was able to come through just thinking about.
Dude, you never used, and I want everybody to know that Justin never used any of the things that we have to offer from Hua. He went about it on his own and freaking crushed it, because now, like, I can see tenfold the happiness that you have now than you had, the day that we sat down and talked. And even before that, I mean, as long as I've known you, I met you, I think, in my backyard at 1291 Thorndale for a Packer game. It was the first time I met you, and you were fresh off of active duty, and super filled with positivity. And I think today you're even more positive than you were then, and you were filled with positivity then, and happiness, and it's remarkable. But you've found ways in that, and what I tell everybody, because having gone through depression myself, and I think that going through depression is a natural part of life. I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing to experience. I think it makes you tougher and more unbreakable.
I think it makes you a little more aware of, your own feelings. You're not,
absolutely.
You're cognizant of your feelings. You're not just ignoring them, and things like that. But I can't speak a lot on depression because I know it's a very sensitive subject, and it's different for everybody.
Subject. And I think a part of it right there is a lot of people are afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
Just like suicide. People are super afraid to talk about it, but it's just like, we have to talk about it so that we can address it and fix it.
Yeah.
So,
and just being that positive light for someone that's depressed is huge.
Absolutely.
Mean, it really is. And just being there for them. Sometimes it just takes a little bit. They might still be depressed, months after you talk to them, but still try to continue to be positive and be there for them, kind of thing. And I want to take on that role, in the future too. Not just, oh, I'm done with the marathon,
Yeah.
but I want to be a little bit more inspirational to people, and that's a goal of mine.
Dude, one of the things that you do that's super awesome, and you don't even know it, and I've been saving it for the podcast to tell you this, is like, you check on me numerous times. Like, hey, Will, how are you doing? How is, everything coming with the ruck? Can I help you? Do you need anything? Like, and just that, how are you doing? And checking in to make sure that I'm okay. And I don't know if you're doing that for me, that you're doing it for a bunch of other people, and you don't even realize that you're doing it. I know you don't even realize that you're doing it. You don't even have a clue. But it's like a Tuesday at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll just text me and be like, hey, how are you doing? Or you'll drop me a phone call just to chat for 5 minutes and just see how I'm doing and read, the expressions that you're getting over the phone. And a few times in life, you've asked me if I'm okay. Because of things the way that you've heard me convey things, and I'm like, oh man, I'm just slammed with all these projects. But it says right there, like, a man or woman who has been through that and been down on their own luck has a unique ability to be able to detect that in other people and get them to talk about it. And I very much appreciate that you've done that for me without even knowing about it. And I know that you've done it for other people. And so I'm sure that they're thankful as well for it, because it's like, it's nice to know that people care, and
yeah, I appreciate that. That feedback's everything, man.
Yeah.
Something I heard in a TED Talk not too long ago was that feedback is well received as long as it's provided.
Yeah.
Regardless of what type of feedback it is, sometimes we don't even speak the things that are on our mind, or if someone impacted our life in a positive manner, they may not even know it. They may not even be aware of it,
Dude,
so our job
huge,
is being somebody that is impacted, I think, is to express that to somebody that impacted you, because, that might be the first time they ever impacted somebody. And your expression towards that could just lift them to a whole nother level. It's like...
Yeah, and that's what we want in life, is to have everybody having a better life, right? And that's why like the focus of a lot of governments and stuff like that is to try and provide for people, and it's all about just building a better life for each other. And you can do that on a small scale, and that has that ripple effect that just cascades. Because when you check on me, I'm like, man, I should probably check on this person and this person because they probably need it. And I'm not even thinking about checking on somebody, but because I was checked on, it starts that small effect. And you've done that to me on, several occasions, not just once or twice, but numerous times out of the blue where we won't have talked for like 3 weeks, and then you'll just, hey man, how are you doing? How's life? Like, everything going well? And so I do truly appreciate that. And I think that is another part that falls back on, the values and characteristics that you learned earlier on in your life, and the way that you care for people. And that's what I found when you approached me to talk about what you were going through. I was like, man, Justin's the happiest guy in the world. I was legitimately super worried because I was like, I've never seen him have a bad day or a bad moment. And I know you have bad days and bad moments because everybody does. It's a part of being a human, and it's what develops us and makes us better. But the fact that you were in that spot had me super concerned. And for you were able to, go home, and 2 days later you text me, you were like, thanks man, that was exactly what I needed. I've got my mind set and straight.
Yeah,
And
it took a couple days, but it'd probably been bearing on me about a week or two, probably a week before I reached out to you, but enough was enough for me. I'm like, I gotta talk to one of my buddies, that can understand what I'm going through, and I just, everything that Fourth Wheel has done for me and for all the veterans around here, you're the first person I wanted to reach out to, and without that back home, I don't know that I would feel as included with the veteran community. I know we have a lot of veteran support around here in other ways, but what you did 6 years ago now,
yeah,
with Fourth Wheel is just an incredible thing, man.
And it's been,
I can't speak enough about that.
Yeah, it's been a blast. It's been a fun ride, but and like I tell people, I'm like, this is like, my passion has always been to help others and inspire others. And now, and that's what led to the birth of Forever Unbreakable, is I wanted to inspire more people. Like, I was like, I love helping the veteran community, and that's where my heart is there more than any other place. But and even not so much, because I just love inspiring people to a level that it doesn't matter who you are. I want you to be inspired to be a better human being and do more with your life. And when you and I sat down and talked, you were at a point where you were just straight stagnativity. Like, you could tell that work wasn't going the direction that you wanted it to. And it wasn't that you don't love your job or any of that. It was just that, like, you felt in this, I could see that.
We call it a box, right?
Yeah, I could see that.
Kind of boxed in a little bit,
yeah. Back against the wall, so to speak. And you needed something else in life to start to drive you forward. And we talked about, the different things that you wanted to go into with Ashley and her starting a business potentially with her artwork and things like that, and you starting something yourself and going down a road there. And we talked about all these ideas, and then getting into fitness again, because the Army provides you a minimum of fitness. They're going to make sure you work out every day. And like you had said, you're like, after I left the Army, I haven't ran. I don't work out like I used to. Like,
I got into that old college mindset, kind of, because I had started college, as a non-traditional student. So I got into that college mindset of, all right, I'm going to study and party, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And also just, as a non-traditional student, it's more study, not a lot of partying, but I did have my fair share of going out and just having a good time, because I felt like maybe I had missed out on that, and it's another fork in the road that I had probably, not thought about hard enough coming out of the military, what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that was another learning experience, but, I don't ever mind being behind a learning curve a little bit. I get a little bit more foresight that way.
That's true. It's a great way to look at it.
I just lost my train of thought.
But it's kind of like, college is kind of like it's almost a natural step, right? Or something that, like, you feel like has to be done. Like, okay, made it to, the end of high school, now I have to go to college. And some of us, like yourself, myself, chose the military route first.
Right.
And then went to college. But it's almost like at many times it seems like a necessary step.
Right.
And so you go into college. I feel like a lot of people go into college with no idea, if they're going to like what they do when they get out or not. And that's why so many people work outside of the degree that they have. because they get their degree, they start the job in the field that they wanted, and then they want nothing to do with that job.
And it doesn't have to do with their passion,
Yeah.
And that's funny how college is tied to a career, and a career is tied to what ways of making money,
Yeah.
Yeah,
means
for a lot
to
of
an
people.
end at some point,
And that's funny because in Japan, and I looked this up, I love Japan, or Japanese, mythology or Japanese culture.
Yeah.
Because they have such strong views, and they're an elder society.
Okay.
And one thing I looked up recently within the last 6 months was this term called Ikigai, and it's basically a reason for being is what it's called in American or in English, and it's put up. It's a there's probably a term for what the diagram is, but it's 4 circles that connect, and you have 16 different categories of your life. One's your passion, one's what does the world need, another one's what can you get paid for, and your Ikigai is putting all those together. And what is it that makes you get up in the morning, and how can you do that for the rest of your life? And that's why in Japan they don't believe in the word retire, because everything they do is a reason for being. And it may not be that way for everybody, but the traditional folks that have their Ikigai found, that's the way they live, and there really is no retirement. It's really just you waking up with a purpose, and really just appreciating every day and getting to go do what you love. And I know we all look for that, and maybe it's a different way of saying go out and do what you love, but man, college is sure not geared towards that. It's just
not
geared
at
towards,
all.
hey, find your career and go make some money.
Yeah, it's geared towards a 4-year struggle, towards a hopeful end where you make some cash, right? And after you and I talked, I feel like you started to head back down that passion road, back down that Ikigai road. Like, what do I truly care about? What do I want to reintroduce into my life? And in turn, by doing that, it makes everything better. It tightens friendships and builds new friendships. It strengthens marriages. It, you accomplish more in the 8-hour workday because you're excited to accomplish things. Like, I accomplish so much more at work when I'm doing what I'm super passionate about, both at work and out of work. Because as soon as I get done with work, I'm helping veterans, and I'm training for the next big thing that I want to do, and I'm doing the podcast. I'm doing all things that I'm super passionate about. And you're now getting into, things that you're super passionate about, because like your photography, the pictures that you've taken recently are freaking awesome, man. Like,
appreciate that.
The ones you were taking at the farmer's market were just wild. I was like,
yeah, you're
getting it figured out, and it's super cool.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I'm doing actually. And when we talked the first time, I was trying to reach out to you, talk about a little bit of the depression I was going through, and then, what can I do to, help advance forward. And we started talking about, at that time I was looking for Ashley to get into artwork, which is my wife, Ashley. Love her. So, hey, Ashley.
Yeah. What's up, Ashley?
And, we were talking about maybe getting her into a business and starting her up, because she has this talent. And,
she's phenomenal.
I started to think to myself, maybe I'm pushing my own dream, my own passion onto somebody else, and maybe it's time, maybe I need to start looking for it myself, and other things may come along. And that's where my passion, a little bit of passion for photography and adventure really came about. And it all tied together with, it just came together. I love looking behind the camera and seeing other people interact with each other, or a nature scene, for example, just a landscape, those kind of things. And I think I can communicate well with that.
Oh yeah.
Oops.
Getting some jams.
I thought I put that on silent.
Good stuff.
Sorry about that. Fix this.
Yeah, but no, so we'll continue on. I love that. You're not the first one. You won't be the last. Actually, one of the microphones fell off on me once.
I did put it on silent, but it was priority only, and I guess phone calls are priority. So.
That's awesome. But yeah, we're talking about the photography, and kind of like how you got into that. Because now, like the stuff that you've captured, for instance, this gentleman that you caught at the farmer's market who was just like sifting through flowers to buy for, whoever.
Right.
It could have been a mother, a wife, girlfriend, somebody sick in the hospital, like anything, but you captured this, real moment of a person's like full expression and just absolutely natural. No idea that you were capturing,
right,
their moment. So it wasn't faked or anything like that. I just thought it's one of the coolest pictures I saw.
I was waiting for a client to come to the farmer's market to take some personal branding photos. And while I was there, I was about a half hour early, and I was just sitting there kind of like dialing in the camera. And, like at first this girl and her daughter walked by, and she had this nice pink like throw over on. It was a really cool color, caught my eye. And her kid was carrying like this little blankie and looked all cuddly next to it, and it was just cute. And he was kind of like hugging up against her leg, like it was just a really cool moment. And I'm like, hey, do you mind if I grab a picture? This is exactly what I'm about to photograph, and I just want to get it in tune. And I took a picture of that, and she said, sure, absolutely. So I took a picture of her. It turned out great. And then I looked down to the right, and I just saw, a glimpse of that guy, digging in the flower bucket for, he's putting together bouquets for people as they go by. And that's what he does. I mean, he obviously goes back home, and he's got a huge field of wildflowers or whatever he may have. That's his life, and he comes to the farmer's market, and, and it just at the right time, he dug in there and grabbed his flowers out of the bucket, and it was a cool shot. I do like that one a lot.
Yeah, like they say, a picture's worth a million words, or however that exact quote is.
Well, and the expression on his face
that's
too.
What it was.
I mean, you could tell. You could tell he's a hard worker, and that he's also an honest family guy. You could just tell that he had that look on his face. He didn't look stressed out about his job, but he looked like he was serious about what he was doing, and that also he's providing for his family in a way, Yeah,
and it was worth a million words.
Yeah, it was a cool
I
shot.
thought of a billion different things to put to that picture, and I think it was super cool. So if people want to find your photos, like where do they go to see what you're currently doing for photos? Because like I follow you.
Yeah.
But
so
tell everybody where to go.
Right now you can go to Instagram at Mr. Goffard. So at Mr. Goffard, Goffard.
And we'll get that up here on the video and stuff.
That's my Instagram. What is that, hashtag or something like that?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, or whatever they call it. And
I'm actually building a website. It's going to be published, within the next couple of days here. It's called mrgmediallc.com. I got that full LLC done, so it's all legit. So
nice, official business owner.
So straightforward, yeah.
And so this all became, really all started only a couple months ago that you started to get that super desire to get your wife into business, which led to your passion of starting your own, freelance or business company that is now getting into photography. Still working your full-time job and doing all that.
Yeah.
But now you just added something else to the mix in the world, which is awesome, because now you've got more passion and more flow, more energy, more life. And, in turn, this is going to cause you to provide better for your family. It's
right.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it'll help me with networking too, and just going out and be able to spread positivity in a way to other people. I mean, I think photography can do that in so many ways. Some people are super camera shy, but at the same time, it shouldn't be about you not liking your picture. It's really about the expression that you want to portray. And it's a huge confidence booster just being able to talk to somebody that, because if I'm photographing somebody, I'm obviously going to be myself.
Yeah.
So, I feel like it's a good escape for me to spread positivity and encouragement, things like that. That's a big thing that I'm getting into is, inspirational words on some images that I took. You can see a couple that we took from our honeymoon out in Banff. I think one of them is "You may feel small, but you are significant" is one of the photos I took, and it's Ashley. She's coming up this mountain, trail, and in the background is this vast mountain, and she looks about this big. so and it's true. Sometimes you might feel small, but really, you're a lot more significant than you think. So.
Yeah,
I think it's a good
absolutely.
way for me to spread some positivity in my little circle that I got, and maybe make that circle a little bit bigger.
Dude, and it's gonna continue to grow because you're doing great stuff. And the other part that you're getting into is I don't want to limit it just to photography as we tell people, but also videography. So you're starting to work on doing some video work as well, and I'm excited because just so everybody knows, Justin's gonna do the first Forever Unbreakable like promo video, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
Or mini commercial. So that's in the works.
It takes some time, so I went. We got a lot to learn, but we do have a little like a scene overlay, if you will, and then we got to start building that. But that's gonna be fun. Yeah, I can't wait.
It's in the works, so it's probably hopefully we'll have it done by Christmas. It's mostly because of me that the process is slow. Definitely not Justin.
Well, and video is another thing that you got to be really precise with video. Taking video is like any shakiness or anything like that, and the perspective is totally different. So there's still some more equipment that I need to get for video and things like that. So
it's a work in progress, just like anything else. Like this is the podcast itself is constantly improving, but it's fun. It's fun to research. It's fun to purchase the stuff, and then it's fun to learn how to use it, implement it, and it's fun to see the reaction on the other side. Like it's a lot of fun. So I'm super excited for you with the business stuff because I think that's absolutely awesome. And I think based on the conversations that we've had, it's where you need to go. It's what makes you happy, and it's what you want to do, outside of work. It's one of the things that you want to do, and it provides you something you absolutely love, which is that adventure.
100%. Yeah.
So I think
100%.
that's awesome. And knowing Ashley, I'm sure she loves the adventure as well.
Absolutely.
Because she's been down for every adventure thus far. To include the many that she's created for both of you as well. So, which is, an exact example is your honeymoon, going out to Banff for your honeymoon and just exploring, for the whole time. It's you guys. So it's awesome that you're able to, do that and turn it into a business. I think is remarkably cool.
Yeah. I think that photography of that scenic beauty, I mean, it's just massive. You could go out there with, one of those old, recyclable cameras disposable cameras, and take some pictures and sell them because they're just amazing views out there.
Yeah, the scenery does it for you.
And that just kind of started my eye into recording those moments. The other thing that caught my eye is the networking portion, and Jen Vandenelzen is actually a link through Ashley Vandenelzen that got me on a promo to do a little bit of promotional personal branding, and it really got me to experiencing that networking part of it, which I think is going to be a big part of the business itself.
Dude, absolutely,
it's just
man.
the networking.
It's huge, and that's a big part in anything is the networking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been through who I've been tremendously blessed with the network that I've now built. And I'm able to use, moving forward. So I can't say enough good things about building a network. I think it's super important. But it's important that you provide to all the people in your network as well as them provide to you. I think is a big key, and I know that you will because it's in your personality. But I think now we get into the mix here with the marathon. So let's talk about how the marathon came to be, because that day when we had that conversation that led, down the business road, it also led down a second road.
Yeah, getting back into shape, man.
Yeah.
I mean, can't put it more bluntly than that. I was just losing, 5 years in the box office, or that's probably the wrong term for it, but five years in the office, and very little activity other than my physical activity, doing hiking or snowboarding or wakeboarding, things like that would keep me fit. It really wasn't enough from a perspective of all the time I had spent sitting down in the office. And, I was looking for, a way to get motivated and back out into the shape that I was in the military. And, that was doing PT every day, So, I mean, that's really what I wanted to get back to, is back into that good shape, feeling healthy, not have to worry about, being able to lift myself up out of the water if I wanted to go wakeboarding, things like that, or any kind of thing like that. And it's just a matter of getting back into shape, and I don't know if we had talked about the marathon at that point in time yet. I think you were still on track to try and beat the world record.
Yeah. This was pre-world record, so it was still a work in the progress.
Yep, I had known about it, and man, hooah for that. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was something
Still
else,
is amazing.
man.
But that world record was another milestone for me, and another realization that I needed to do more with my life and set more goals in my life. And I posted about it on Facebook 2 days before the marathon.
Yeah.
I think it was Saturday. How that world record attempt really just changed my perspective, and that I needed to switch it over and set more goals, regardless of what they are, fitness goals, life goals, relationship goals. I just need to be more goal setting and live my life towards that, because if you're not, you're kind of losing out on, you're standing still and you're not moving forward. In my mind, it's like the most complacent you could ever be if you're not setting goals for yourself, regardless of how small they are. It doesn't have to be a marathon, but I thought that was the best way I could challenge myself and really motivate myself to get into the shape that I wanted to be in at that time.
Yeah, and goal setting is huge. I want to talk about goal setting just for a second, because you hit it right on the head. Like, if you're not setting goals, you're stagnant in life. Like, you have to set goals. But and it's one thing to say the goal, and it's another thing to work towards the goal. Like, it's great to have dreams, but dreams only matter if you're willing to put in the work required to get to them. And it's the same way with goals. Goals only matter if you're willing to put in the work required to get to them. But you have to set the goal to start the work pattern to get there. And as soon as you achieve that goal, which is why I'm super excited to ask the last question today of what's next, because as soon as you achieve the goal, you had best start setting the next goal. It doesn't even have to be in the same world. You can set a goal of running a marathon, and then your next goal can be to, launch a business or whatever, right? And so, or whatever you want to do, but you need to set goals and you need to work towards them. And I think that that's super important. And that all started when you helped Jason Braun, who carried the 100 pounds with me during the world record attempt. Like, that all started, the running goal really started there. You went 10 miles with him like it was nothing, and you inspired him. And I think that gave more birth to you going on a path of inspiring others, is you inspired him and helped motivate him to, get one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward. I don't know what it was that you were saying to him, but, generally I think it was your happy, upbeat personality that also helped.
Yeah, we got into quite a bit.
Yeah.
We got into some old Army cadences.
But it works, man. It works.
Saw an old lady walking down the street.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, we had a lot of fun, and actually, his friend had came in, but I think we had a solid 4 or 5 miles, just me and him talking, and getting to know him a little bit better, and just really just being there for him. There was moments of silence too. I mean, you know, where we're just thinking, and I'm just trying not to get into his mental. If he wanted to talk, I would, but I know that's something when you're in pain, sometimes you just want to truck through, and having somebody at your side is good too. But,
as you learned Sunday, both ways. There's good times for silence, and there's good times for having somebody motivate you.
For sure. Yeah, man, Sunday.
Well, we aren't there yet.
Man.
Because I want to talk to you a little bit about your training journey going in. So, because I mean, you had, basically 4 months from when you signed up to marathon, right? 4.5 months.
18 weeks. So that's, 16 divided by 4. Yeah.
So 4.5 months.
Right around 4.5 months. Yep.
Yeah. So to get in marathon shape, which is generally enough time. I think it's plenty of time.
Yeah. When I told the medic that in the hospital, they said, "Wow, that's it." I said, "Well, I thought that was a good amount of time."
I think that's usually what I train for.
Yeah. Well, you're also Will Kogan world record holder.
But I trained 17 months for that. So some goals are a little bit bigger than others, and they require a little bit more training. But and I'm naturally more trained up because I'm always training for something.
Yeah.
Where you were coming basically couch to marathon.
Yeah, couch to marathon basically.
Weeks.
I mean, I had some previous training obviously from the military, but Jason actually recommended it to me. I said, "Where can I learn about running for a marathon?" He said, "Hal Higdon," and I'm like, I sent him some funny text because I didn't remember the name.
Yeah.
Some random name. And he's like, yeah, Hal Higdon. So I went and I picked up an intermediate training plan off Hal Higdon. And that was a training plan I set to, but there was some interruptions. I started off pretty well. But I started off thinking I was going to run a 7-minute mile pace.
Yeah, I remember you told me, you're like, yeah, I'm going to qualify for Boston. I was like,
yeah,
you should probably read this book.
I went.
Do a couple of other things.
I'm just being bullheaded right away. I can run the 2 mile in, 12 minutes back in my prime days.
Yeah.
And I haven't ran in 5 years. So.
And you're like, so if I slow down a minute a mile, I'll still qualify for Boston, at 7-minute miles.
Yeah, but I didn't realize the how long a marathon really is when you think about it. And man, was that a wake-up call. But so I started following that and really gun-hoing it, thinking I was going to do 7-minute miles. So I started picking it back up right at a 7.5-minute pace or so.
Yeah, and we're Strava friends, so I was watching and I was like,
and
he's throwing down.
I was kind of just running too fast, and it was only I was only hitting 3-mile runs, so it's not a lot of distance, and I was already exhausted at the end of 3 miles. So we talked, and you got me a couple books that I had listened to, and it really changed my demeanor into training, into being more of an endurance runner, and I had to restart training basically.
Yeah.
So I lost 2 weeks of training right away because I had to change the way I was training into more of an endurance runner's platform. And the book was called Primal Endurance for anybody that
highly
would like to really get into endurance running.
Highly recommended if you want to start.
And actually, just for health and longevity, it's a great book for that in general. Just because it does get a little wordy, but at the same time, there's so many key points that you can get out of that book that you can carry over to your everyday physical and nutritional.
Dude, absolutely. And we learned all about nutrition on Sunday.
Oh my God. Big time. And that's probably that's probably the section that I didn't get to and listen to long enough to get to know that, I need to fill up on carbs before a marathon. I just skipped that part, and man, was I lacking for nutrition, and my body was just I probably looked like Ethiopian running that thing, man. Just sucked everything out of my body. If I didn't have any clothes, I probably could have seen my rib cage.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know I was drained of everything that was in my body. But
and that was, and in the video everybody's gonna see you were beyond drained of everything in your body. But a lot of that comes through that nutritional prep and training prep and all that stuff. Being your first marathon, it's always, you don't know what pace to really run at. You don't know, because even in training, had you have gone, so you only ever trained up to 15 miles.
15, yeah. And so let's just go back to that training part just real quick. Yeah. So 2 week of, heavy, intense training that was really out of place. I slowed it back down to progressive training to get my aerobic heart rate up to help me, endure a long run. And then 4 weeks into that, we go to our honeymoon out in Banff, and we're there for 2 weeks. Yeah. So I lose out on another 2 weeks of training. But at the same time, we did a lot of elevation hiking, which was good. Yeah. But it's not run training. It's a little bit different. So I come back. I've lost 4 weeks of training, and I've only got 18 weeks of training. So really, I got a 14-week training plan. And I also just didn't do enough long mileage runs, and that's another thing.
You skipped the 20-mile runs.
I skipped the 20 miles, yeah. I did the 15 was the max that I did, and man, it really came back to bite me in a way, along with that, mixed in with that nutrition.
And they say a marathon is 2 races. It's miles 0 through 20. And then miles 20 through 26 is the second race.
It is. And it's 100%
distinctly
accurate.
Different races.
It's 100% true. And if you look back at my lap times back in the marathon, mile 15, I recall you now. If you would have asked me this directly after the marathon, when I thought it was 2016, I didn't even remember starting the race, man. It was terrible. I'd never been that blacked out memory, blanked out for at least 30, 45 minutes. My memory was pretty much fried. It's crazy.
I feel bad for your wife because
she was scared.
She looked super scared, and I was super calm because I was checking your pulse as I had you in my arms, carrying you to the end of the race to make sure that like we didn't really need to put you on a stretcher right at that moment. I was like, we might do a little damage here, but he's going to be fine. This is just going to suck for a few hours. But like seeing your wife's face, I was like, oh, here, you can have him. I'm out.
Hey, man.
She's a rock star, though. Like,
You know what? You helped me push through, and obviously I was unconsciously telling you I wanted to finish, so, that was my thing, and I'm glad I did, dude. I can't thank you more enough for helping me carry me through that finish line, man.
Yeah, I'm super proud of you. But, like, so
it's like battle buddy carry
dude,
out
it was
of the
wild,
fire, man.
It was wild. And thanks to the random girl who jumped in and helped out. But it was let's get into race day then. Now that we've talked about the training, nutritional plan, you stayed, you kind of started to go into ketosis, but were you measuring your ketones or anything like that?
No. It was a very, very like undisciplined ketosis. Like, I'd say I was probably limited myself to 150 grams of carbs a day.
Yeah, and you're supposed to be down in like the 40s.
Yeah, it was very low. And, I'd like to experiment with that again now that I got more time before my next one and be a little bit more disciplined about it. Just because, it's just huge learning lessons. This event was filled with learning lessons for me, this milestone. And to be able to achieve it was amazing, but it really did show the struggle is real.
Dude, absolutely.
Don't take things lightly, even if you're a good runner.
Don't ever underestimate anything.
Especially when you're setting a goal to try and achieve a pretty good time. 3 hours was insane, and I admitted that to you after I had listened to that book a little bit more and started running into that 9-10 mile range. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to run 26 miles in a 7-minute pace, man.
Yeah,
can't do it.
It's silly, man.
At least
tried
not right
numerous
now,
times,
but,
and I've never hit a Boston qualifying time.
Yeah,
and I've tried numerous times.
Well, it takes serious training for sure.
Yeah.
And others, you just gotta. It's sometimes it's your person too. You gotta fill what your body will allow you to do.
Exactly.
And I knew 4 hours was within my body limitations.
Dude, absolutely.
I think with a little bit better preparation, I would have been able to be a little more coherent when I crossed that line. But that was all part of the experience, man. Holy shit.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome. So, going into it, you're, mild ketosis, right? You're trying to get in ketosis, but not really in ketosis. But then you enter the race with a race day hydration nutrition plan of somebody who's in ketosis.
Yeah.
And, that was mistake one. And Justin Rolane and I didn't pick up on it until somewhere between 18 and 20. I forget where. And then Justin Rolane he went to me. He's like, what is Justin consumed so far? And I'm like, oh, shit. And he's like, yeah, we got to get him some food. And so then Justin offered you the goo, and you were like, no, man, I'm doing good. And we're like, we got to get something in him. So then we got to the next water point. We were like, you need to eat some bananas, some
stubborn.
Oranges, get some food in now. And I'm so thankful that you put some regular food in at that point because
I'm just happy it came up when it did.
Sooner.
I'm just happy it came up when it did because we talked about it and that goo, and I passed on it. And then we went through a goo line, and there was some apples and oranges and bananas there. I took those.
Yeah.
And I was basically like a kid who'd never eaten before, just stuffing his face. I had smushed banana all over my fingers. I just went in there. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's the best part, man. And that's how Justin Rolane had Vaseline all over his chest and shit.
Man, you just no care. I got to feel better. I got to go. But it was at that point when he reached out and said, hey, take some of this goo. Mentally, I probably knew that I should have taken it. I didn't know what it would have done for me.
Yeah.
And that's where that's where the knowledge kind of gap was. I didn't know that it would have really helped me out that much. I was kind of just being bullheaded about not taking any sugar like that and just trying to go through on my own, kind of like fat storage, and it just wasn't. My body was like, no,
Because
I'm gonna burn up everything that you have, and fat's gonna be the last thing that I burn up.
Yeah, and that's because you hadn't gotten into a fat metabolized diet yet enough to be able to metabolize your fat. So it was just burning through your sugar store, and
Which I didn't have anything of. If we talked, I remember Friday was my, I had to focus on my nutrition Friday because it's really Saturday. It's not all digested enough to where it's going to have that big of an impact.
Friday's the most important.
Yeah.
2 days out is the most
And
important.
Friday I had a 10 grams of carb meal. I mean, there was no carbs in my meal, hardly any.
Yeah.
And, and that's all I had.
So your body's just eating sugar Friday, Saturday, and you're not putting any back into it.
And then Saturday, I didn't really eat that much because I didn't want to have like an upset stomach for the race or anything like that. So I didn't eat that much. And man, those 2 days prior, I failed miserably on the nutrition end. And it showed in that last, 3 miles, 2 miles.
Yeah. When it really matters.
Thought the race was going fantastic all
Dude,
the way up until that.
It was going fantastic. We started
2
off
mile range.
Yeah, we started off with our buddy Shannon, who is a 4-hour pace guy. And you and Brooke were both feeling great. So, the four of us, myself, Justin Mullane, yourself, and Brooke, we all kind of started to push the pace up a little bit. And, Justin Mullane and I were both like, hey, you guys, you go the pace that you two can handle and that you two are comfortable with. And, we'll run with you guys and motivate you guys. And ultimately, I told Justin Mullane, I was like, I'm going to stay with Justin Goffard until either A, he breaks me off, or B, we cross the finish line. Like, I'm going to stay by his side no matter what happens. So, I wasn't sure if Brooke was going to take off on us or not. And we ended up running together, and we ended up clicking these great miles. We were somewhere between
8:45-ish.
And it was like an 8:44 to 8:50 pace. So it was real good. We were on track for about a 7:55, or not, a 3 hour and 55 minute marathon. And I was like, wow, this is great. I'm feeling great. Like, we're running great. I'm looking at you, looking at Brooke. I was like checking in with both you guys, and you guys were doing great. You were running up all the hills. The only spots where there was any walking was at the water points as you were trying to get, liquid and food in, which is, and as you learned in Primal Endurance, in the book Primal Endurance, they recommend that you walk every single water point, start to finish. And that's the easiest way to do a marathon is walk the water points. Mm-hmm. Because then you're for sure getting in, your Gatorade Endurance and your water and your bananas and the goos when they have them, and then you're, back to running as soon as you've got that stuff in. But it gives you ample time to get all of the nutrients that you need to get in your body that you're going to need late in the race. And it took me a long time because I'm also rather stubborn, especially in sports like this. It took me a long time to build the knowledge that I needed to consume food early and often to have energy late in the race. So, going into the start of the race that morning, like, you probably didn't eat that much for breakfast. And then, or what did you have for breakfast?
I didn't have anything for breakfast.
Yeah, so there you were already not eating early and eating often.
Complete failure of nutrition. I mean, it just really does boil down to how big of an impact it has. And I don't know if that's why I overheated, but I definitely overheated. And it wasn't the weather. It wasn't hot out at all.
No, it was 61 degrees. I ran in a hoodie the whole time.
Yeah. So I think that's primarily the reason. Dehydration is what caused it in a way. I felt hydrated, but maybe dehydration mixed in with that, no energy to have.
Yeah, and if you're not consuming food to help retain, which has enough salt in it to help retain the liquids you're taking in, you're just flushing. The liquids are just flushing things through your body. Yep. And so you're just flushing it all out.
Yeah, and I don't know what the term for it is, but it was straight nutrition that led me to that very painful and very, like, dig as deep as I ever dug. Last, half mile, 3/4 of a mile. And I even recall it being more like 2 miles out. I'm like, when the hell is this thing going to end? Because I'm sitting there, and I was like kind of getting a little wobbly, and I'm like, man, so, okay, we finally got to another break point. It was a 2 mile out. Yeah, I think that's the last water point.
There's one more
after that. Yeah. Well, it was the second one that I recall. I'm just like, man, I got to slow down. And I slowed down. I got a little lightheaded. And then I think they had some food there that I grabbed. And that helped me a little bit, but it just wasn't enough to bring me back, man. Like, I started running again, and then I was just like, I think I was out at that point in time. I don't even really remember.
Too little, too late at that point in time.
I don't even really remember that last mile at all.
Because when I told you we had passed the 24 flag and I was like 2.2 to go, it's basically a PT test. You took off. Like I remember looking at my watch and it was like we were running at like a sub 8-minute pace. It was like 7:55, and I was like,
I remember you saying that too, and I was like,
doing?
Oh, PT test. Remember how I said I could run 12-minute 2-mile back in my prime?
So
I think that's the thought that went through my discombobulated head.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I'm gonna run a 12-minute 2-mile, and I'm gonna crush it.
So I look at Justin Rolane because for the entire race, Justin Rolane and I ran side by side, and I look at Justin and I was like, because we were just talking about pacing you guys and some different things to keep you guys motivated and stuff like that. And I look at Justin and I was like, this ain't good. And he's like, nope. And I was like, Justin, slow down. Like the race isn't won yet. Like
Reel me back in.
Yeah. Because going into the race, you were like, yeah, mile 16. If I'm feeling good, I'm gonna turn it up. And Justin and I were both like, see how you feel at mile 20, and then decide if you're gonna turn it up. And we were giving you shit along the way.
All valid points right there. See how you feel at mile 20. Mile 15, Justin, this is your zone from here on out the rest of the race, and it sure was.
But anyway, so we get to the last.
Explain how that was carrying me in for I don't even know how long you carried me in for.
Yeah, it was about a half mile.
Yeah, it had to have been a ways because I know there was a point where I blacked out and I probably would have fallen over had you not helped lift me there.
Yeah, so we were 2 turns away from the finish. So you have a right turn and then a right turn on to East Wisconsin, I think it is. Yeah, East Wisconsin Avenue down in Neenah Menasha area. And it takes you up to this park, like Riverside Park, Riverview Park, something like that. And so we're just coming up to that right turn, and you start using the whole road. Like, I mean, curb to curb, running just... and Rolane saw it first, and Justin like taps me right away. He's like, dude, look at Justin. And Justin and I both look back at you, and we're like, oh, this isn't good at all. And we make that right corner. I was like, maybe he's just a little shaky going into the corner, and now it's a straight shot, and he'll be able to, look forward and run forward.
I remember seeing that straight shot.
And
I do remember seeing that straight shot now that you bring it up.
And you were like all over the road, and you were running slower than you could walk. So we were like, walk, like stop. Start walking, like stop trying to run, start walking, because walking will naturally cause you to stand tall, because you were starting to go down into this squat position. Your height was probably 12 inches lower than it should be. And maybe that's a slight exaggeration. So I would say 8 to 10 inches lower than it should be. And it was because your knees were starting to buckle out. So you were dragging your foot. It was like across the ground because you couldn't lift your leg up high enough.
Yeah, and you'll see that in that video. You can clearly see how I was dragging my feet just.
And we still had a turn to go before we could head towards the finish line. And then I guess there's a slight left that takes you to the finish line, but you can see it from a long ways out. And we go to take this last right corner, and I had picked you up a couple of times, and like I was now dumping bottles of water on your head. Like I was trying to get bottles of water from anybody. There was a girl and her mother, a daughter mother, sitting outside their house with a small table and a cooler full of ice water. And I was like, give me the 2 coldest bottles you have. And they handed you one, and they handed me 2. And I took your hat off, and you were like, don't take my hat. And I was like, and I was just dumping water in your head. I was like, I need to keep your hat. Like, we need to cool your head down. And you're like, no, I need my hat. And so I was like, oh, God damn it, Justin. And so I put your hat back on your head after just hosing you down with ice cold water, trying to bring your temp down. And I'm doing a quick like 10-second heart rate check, multiply it by 6, trying to get some sort of quick math and figure out where you're sitting heart rate wise, so that I know like what type of condition you're in. And at the time you're pulling like a 170-ish heart rate, and I was like, okay, that's high, but it's not stupid. Like this is still manageable. It's probably just nutrition and overheating. And so we'll be able to get him to the finish. And then so you're walking, and then you start to run again, and you start going all over the road, and we get you to walk again, and then you start running because we're rounding this corner and there's all these people. And Justin, Elaine, and I are both like, walk, damn it, walk. And when you would walk, you were walking faster than you were running. When you were running at like probably an 18-minute a mile pace. At
just
this point,
no ability to run. Yeah.
But you were still running, but it was just like running in place. And we're both like,
interesting.
Walk, just walk.
Stubborn, man.
And you walked for the third time, and I was like, thank God. And that's when it was like, you were walking probably 5 feet left, and then you'd go, 5 to 7 feet right, and then another 5 to 7 feet to the left, and just back and forth and back and forth. And I was like, oh boy, I don't know if we're
Bonk
gonna.
zone.
I was like, I don't know
Bonk
what's
zone.
gonna happen here, but this is not good. So then, Justin was like, hey, I'm gonna run up and grab my kids. I want to cross finish line with my kids. And so he took off thinking that, because he's like, you think he's gonna be fine? I was like, yeah, he's gonna be fine, man. Go up with you and run through with your kids, as you had wanted to. And I look back and you were trying to run again, and I was like, you idiot. And so I went back and grabbed your arm right away.
Yeah, you helped me out. I appreciate that.
And started to, basically I was walking next to you as you were attempting to run, and you were running with all your might and all your power. And it was one of the most remarkable things to see. Like it truly was bringing tears to my eyes. Like I was filled with joy and excitement and passion, to be a part of it and to see you push so hard that like everything that I talk to people about and everything that I share with people about my experiences and in an effort to try and inspire and motivate them, you were doing that to me, and you were living in those moments that I share with people of the struggle and the desire to succeed is so high that you won't accept failure.
That's that product, man.
Yeah. And so, I had you under the arm, and I was like, I'm not going to put your arm over my neck, because at no point do I want to take the load or the burden of these miles from you. I want you still to carry these miles on your feet and know that you did this yourself. All I'm doing is balancing you left and right, so that instead of going so left and right, we're just going to walk in a straight line, which is the most, the shortest distance to the finish line. So that was my, primary intent. And then your knees were completely buckling to the point where your feet were behind your knees.
Oh, for sure.
And you were like leaned forward, and I was holding all of your body weight forward. And I was like, okay, at this point now we need to take some of gravity off of his feet. And that was the first time that I lifted you. And that was at the 26-mile marker. We were probably 10 feet past the 26-mile marker flag. And I could see the 13-mile, because the half marathon, full marathon come together at about mile 3 or 4, and then they run together for the rest of the distance. 3 or 4 of the half course, and then obviously it's like 16 or whatever it is of the 16, 17 of the full course. And so we had 0.2 miles to go, under 0.2 miles, probably like 0.18 miles to go.
Man, just that.
And that was when I truly had to start to, really assist you in the walking other than keeping you straight. And the EMT was next to us at this point, and they could see that I, was friggin' helping out pretty substantially.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the
no leg power anymore.
Yeah, the EMT on this little scooter. And the only reason why I know he was an EMT was because he had a hat that told me so. And he was like, we need to put him in a cart right now and get him to, medical support. And I was like, you will not put him in a cart right now. He is going to finish the marathon. We're 0.2 miles away. Do not talk like that. Show some fucking some support, and let us get to the finish. And he was like, I can't do that. And I was like, then stop talking, turn your little moped around and get out of here. But he's finishing the damn marathon. I was like, he didn't sign up, he didn't get this far to not cross the damn finish line. And he was like, blah, blah, blah. And I don't remember exactly what he was saying. I was like, listen, dude, his heart rate right now is plus or minus 2 of 1165. Like, I'm monitoring everything.
Yeah, you got that. And
I was like,
if it was higher or dropping or fluctuating crazy, you would, I guarantee, I know you from a medical standpoint, you would have not put me in that risk of,
Exactly. If it had scared me at all, I would have gotten you in a cart and taken care of. But I was like, I'm not afraid of where he's at right now, and we're this close to finish. It's not like we're 10 miles out or 5 miles out.
Yeah,
we have less than one lap around a damn high school track.
Right.
Like, he's going to finish. We're almost to an indoor track right now. Like, we're almost to one lap on an indoor track.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
he's going to finish. I'll let him get to the finish line, and then we'll get him in a wheelchair. I was like, have a wheelchair standing by. Like, we'll get him in a wheelchair. We'll get him out of bed. We'll get some ice on him, and we'll start to work the medical process. But I was like, you getting him in the back of an ambulance 2 minutes sooner is not going to affect the outcome. The only difference is maybe you would have spent an hour or less in the hospital. Like,
I don't think so.
maybe, but
they're
probably
kind of
not.
bored out there. They were trying to keep me for as long as they could.
Exactly. So, like, my thought process, and so I was getting pretty. I should have been a little nicer to the EMT. I get he's doing his job, and he was doing a great job at doing his job because he needs to be concerned about your safety and the safety of others. But I was not about to watch your, 18 weeks of train up and the development you've made as a person come to an end 0.2 miles from the finish or 0.1 mile from the finish. Like, I wasn't going to let that happen.
Man, I so appreciate that, because honestly, every second that I was in that, from cognitive ability back, I think I came back to like knowing what was going on when I was in the ambulance, and I'm like, how the hell did I get here? And I vaguely remember that tent, and I literally thought we were at like an after bar in my head. That's where I thought we were, and I'm like, did I drink too much?
That's fucking
You know what I
awesome.
mean? Like, that's the thought that was going through my head, and I'm like, man, did I drink too much at this after bar? And like, so many weird thoughts, and didn't know where I was, kind of thing. And I look and I see Ashley, and she's like, no, you finished, and you blacked out right when you got at the end, and basically just crashed, and we had to get you cooled down. You were at 106 degrees. Like, my internal body temp was 106 degrees. They anally probed me like 6 times. My ass still hurts, by the way.
That's friggin' awesome.
It's terrible. But
yeah, when you stepped, so I was watching your eyes, and your eyes kept rolling back and coming back down, and rolling back and coming back down. I was like, oh, he's going out. Like, at that point, I knew you weren't seeing the finish line. You weren't seeing the people around you.
Yeah, I was.
And I kept telling you, I was like, hey, man, focus on the finish line. Like, you can see the finish clock. Like, focus on the clock, focus on the finish line. Like, hear the crowd. And I was trying to get these things to bring your eyes back to focus. And every once and again, they would flood.
I remember hearing the crowd. That
focus.
was actually one of the first things I told them that I remember hearing was the crowd, and that I get to that finish line, and then when I kind of collapsed, I remember hearing the crowd like, oh, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
It's just, if it could have gone any other way, but to be honest, it's one of those experiences where you learn so much from something that I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest. I learned so much valuable knowledge came from this that I can put forward in not only helping other people run or, just advice in general, but in my own, future. And a lot of people ask me a lot of the nurses and things ask me, well, is this going to be your last one after this? I'm like, no.
Yeah, I'm not done here.
No. No, this is a valuable learning lesson for sure. But as long as my legs are back, I can definitely do another one. And actually, for the first, I think, 20 minutes in the hospital, I was worried about my legs because they were numb. But it was because of all the ice that they had put me on. I mean, they had put me on like a bed of ice, and my legs were just numb from the ice.
Yeah, but it's freaky.
Yeah, it was scary. And the fact that I couldn't remember anything and my legs were numb, I could move them, so I knew I was okay. But it was a scary moment for me for sure, and I'll admit that. But it's so much worth it in the long run to achieve that goal. 13 minutes shy, even while blacking out after the last half mile. I mean, a little under half mile blackout. I mean, that's crazy, and I appreciate you, making that dream come true, man.
Yeah, it was.
Like carrying your brother out of the fire, man.
I wouldn't have had it any other way, man.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed the entire 26.2 miles with you from the start, from the ride down in the morning together, all the way through to handing you off to the medical staff. Like, it was an experience and a half, and I wouldn't change it. Just like I wouldn't change any of the training runs that we go on. And all the miles that we get to share together, I think is, to me, they're all valuable time and time well spent.
Absolutely.
And it's, where I prefer to spend my time with my friends is, clicking them away like a freaking.
Yeah, whatever it's going to be, just something that's a bonding experience where you're both progressing in some way. For me, running is it. Like, I love the running high that I get, and the ability. A lot of people run with music and things like that. I don't. I just like to think about where I'm at with things. Try not to let my thoughts consume me, but steer them in the right direction.
That's exactly how I don't like the music distraction. I like to be distracted by what I want to achieve. And I'm out here running because I want to achieve something. And that running allows me to think about the other things I want to achieve, from business ideas to, the things I want to do with my wife to improve our marriage and our life and things like that. And I come home just, filled with this ambition in the morning. And I'm like, yeah, I achieved the day. Like, I got the day started right. It's time to, make breakfast and get rolling and make things happen today. And I know that now through running has changed your life forever.
100%, man. And, I never was, even though I was real good at running in the military, I never thought of it as like as a early day starter, like it's the reason why I get a lot of motivation in the morning, like what it's turned into. And I wish I would have thought about that, long ago when I knew I was good at running, and geared it to a more positive thing rather than just like, oh, I'm going to be good at it, but it's just something we do.
Yeah, no,
but
exactly.
A lot more mature now and a lot more wise, so I can now look at it and break it apart and diagnose what it really is versus just look at it for what it is. I'm good at running and that's it, versus, and a lot of people look at this, you're not very good at running, you blacked out.
Yeah.
Well, I got one more for you.
Exactly.
But no, I do think I'm a good runner, and with a little bit more training, I think I'm going to blow that milestone under the water. I'd like to do a little bit better here.
Dude, so, I'm certain with now that you've got the experience and you know what it's like after mile 20, I think you're going to be around a 3:30 on your next one. That's my early prediction. My early prediction.
I gotta be a little bit better and a little bit more cognizant of those things leading up to the race. I think that week or so leading up to the race is probably the most critical of dialing your nutrition and just all that, your pace and things like that too.
Yeah.
I think I overachieved my pace a little bit but I mean, honestly, I felt great with the pace we were going for the first 25 miles.
I think if your nutrition was good, I think you could have held on to it no problem.
Yeah, I just think that was probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, we let you guys run a comfortable pace, and you guys freaking crushed it.
Yeah, we were doing good on the run. I remember you saying, "Man, Justin, look at Justin go."
Yeah, I was impressed. Rolane and I were both like, "Damn!" Like for a first marathon for you, and Brooke to shave, over 20 minutes off her time. We were both impressed. But now let's get into the two famous questions here based on the time that we're at in the podcast. Let's talk about these. So the first question, Unbreakable, especially now with your experiences, from Sunday, but through life, like, what does it mean to you to be unbreakable? Because you clearly showed that you will run yourself into the ground to achieve a goal. So talk about being unbreakable and what got you to that point.
Yeah, I mean, being unbreakable is not it's not a definite, to me, it's not a definite path. You don't know that you're unbreakable all the time. There'll be moments of time where you think, man, I'm broke.
Yeah.
But being unbreakable to me is always getting back up and, trying to achieve whatever you set your mind to, and just make sure that you are in a constant position to put yourself forward, to move yourself in a forward direction, whether it be, I set a goal to achieve a marathon and then I take 5 steps backward because not only I achieved the marathon, but I blacked out and learned a lot of valuable lessons. But in that, I probably took some steps back, But as long as I set another goal to move forward, I'm being unbreakable, man. I'm saying, hey, regardless of how many steps backward I took, I'm still going to take a big step forward, and I'm going to set another goal and achieve it. And that's unbreakable to me, is just moving forward progress.
That's it, man. And that's a common theme, is that forward progress, getting up when you're knocked down, just that never quitting, never failing. Like there's Joe Delagrave said it very well. There's winning and there's losing, or there's winning and there's learning, not winning and losing. So, a loss is just a learning point, or a failure is just a learning point. You get back up and you strive forward, and that's the best way that I've seen, Unbreakable described thus far, to me anyways, is exactly what you just described, and many others in a different, set of words and context. But it's that constant, we're all going to fail at things. We're all going to have these down moments, but being unbreakable is getting back up and continuing forward.
100%. Yeah. I mean, just set that goal. Put your right foot forward and try and get there. If you get knocked down, get back up, get after it, man. Yeah. That's basically exactly what happened. And hey, if you need a buddy help you out, I'll tell you what, that's going to happen 9 times out of 10. You're going to need to call on somebody to help you out.
Dude, next time it'll be you helping me probably.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know. 100%. Even the unbreakable they still need a favor, So.
Yeah. We all fall apart. Yeah, I've had my shares of falling apart, and tons of people who have picked me up and gotten me through things. Yourself included in that group of people that have done that for me. So now, talking about goal setting and stuff like that, what's next? What's the next goal that Justin Goffard is going to achieve?
Man, I gotta look up towards the sky. Think real deep here. What am I getting myself in? No,
Yeah.
It's not about that. It really is something that I've been setting my mind to. And starting this business was one. And hell, 2 days after the marathon, I already achieved that.
Yeah.
Or a day after.
Yeah. Today's the day after, and you finally started the LLC today. So
yeah.
Congrats.
I would really like to just, establish some roots in that. But the other one is, getting a little bit more incorporated with the Fourth Wheel charity and doing things. I've started a little bit of progression on the WPS team for the Ruck March. I'd like to, achieve my milestone of raising $2,000 for that from the company perspective. And, I've been doing what I can, but I think I could put a little bit more effort into that and hit that $2,000 donation.
Dude, that's huge,
really,
man. That's
really
a
where
huge
I'm
goal
going for.
Because raising money is super hard. So that's a huge goal, man. That's awesome. That excites me. That's freaking wild.
It's been a goal. It's tough to get. I'm at the $75 it donated, so I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, you got a lot of work, but it's just like a marathon, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you start. It's
Absolutely.
all in how you finish.
100%.
So it's getting to the end.
And obviously participate and really spread awareness for veteran suicide, and that Fourth Who is here to help veterans like me and other people that, even I believe family members of veterans that have been,
Absolutely.
A victim to PTSD or served in service, things like that. So it's just a great community to be in, and I'd love to make a little bit bigger impact around my place of work with that. So glad we could get WPS on board and sponsor it with a little bit, and hopefully put together a team here.
No, I like it, man, and that's in the works, which is awesome. So thanks to Wisconsin Public Service for that. They are one of the sponsors this year, so it's freaking awesome. Do you got anything else you wanna say to everybody? Otherwise, I want to say congrats on finishing your first marathon.
Appreciate it. I got this badge here. Didn't know I had it laying in a hospital bed, and I saw this thing for the first time. So I didn't get to ring that bell, but
earn, never give it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah,
So,
and just thanks to everybody for the support. Thanks, Will, for all the training advice and really getting me to where I could be. Nutrition will help me out next time, and there'll definitely be another marathon here in the future. Think about maybe the Cellcom or something like that to do. So that's that might be a little. Maybe we'll do the Fox Cities again. Who knows? But
yeah,
we'll see. I gotta get my feel for training again and where I'm at. Cellcom's in May, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
lots of time.
we'll see. Yeah.
The nice part is always going out for that first run after the marathon and kind of knocking the rust off the legs. A nice, easy 2 or 3 mile jog, and just figuring out where the body feels and what needs to be stretched and worked out.
For me, that'll probably be Wednesday after yoga. After Tuesday yoga, and then Wednesday we do. So that veterans yoga, that fourth hua, another great
Yep.
thing for fourth hua is this veterans yoga. It's actually getting me into it. Probably do some paid sessions because it's that good.
It is, man. It's awesome.
Seriously, yoga's inspiring. But yeah, probably Wednesday, a little 2 or 3 miler. Let me know if you're free.
Yeah, I will be, man. I'll make it happen.
Wednesdays.
I know, right? We'll make it easy though.
Yeah, and that was actually a motto or a theme that we did every week was run on Wednesdays with DPRG.
Yep.
That really got me into the mix of running, 8 and longer.
Yeah.
Or 6 to 8 miles on Wednesdays.
Yeah, every morning, man. Fucking works. So
Hell
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. And take care out there and remember to stay unbreakable. Thanks everybody.